Is there amongst young men a sense of confusion about what it means to be masculine today?
Yeah. I in some ways, the big question that young men are asking today is, how should I be a man? And that's because there isn't a clear script.
Hey, did you see he's the president now? I thought he was a senior fellow, so I guess he's now the president of the
Advancement of Boys or something like that. I forget the name of the organization.
Okay. Oh, this is different from the Brookings. I read that wrong. Sorry.
That's what that looks like.
No. Richard Reeves runs the American Institute for Boys and Men.
Okay, there we go. So he's the president of that. Okay.
Nonpartisan think tank focused on research and advocacy. Why the need? Why did you decide to start this?
It's a much more challenging time for young men to figure out their place in the world than it was. And then you add to that the fact that we have massive education gaps.
Boys are lagging behind girls in school, especially in reading, and they're less likely to go to college.
Today, it's women who are 15 percentage points more likely to get a degree than men.
We've flipped the gender gap, and actually women are a bit further ahead of men today.
I just want you guys to understand, like, he is a political progressive. I believe he's a U.S. citizen now. He obviously grew up in the U.K., but he's a political progressive, and he actually said with his own mouth on CBS News, we flipped the gender gap. Like, do you understand? Like, Rollo, would you have believed 3 or 4 years ago anyone would have said this?
No, certainly not a mainstream. That's for sure.
Yeah,
like,
that's the part. It's like it's gotten so bad. Go ahead.
It's unignorable. It's absolutely unignorable right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, let's go back to it.
Yeah, on college campuses than men were in the early 70s, which is when we passed Title IX and had a really concerted push around kind of helping women. In the average school district, boys are about a grade level behind in English. So we see very, very big gaps in the education system and in mental health. And I think that then flows into employment, family life, and so on.
From 1970 to 2020, the percentage of men participating in America's labor force fell nearly 5%. During the same period, the percentage of men getting married also fell by twice as much.
Young men and boys are falling further and further behind. Many are disconnected or disaffected, don't have a clear life path.
Delano Squires is a research fellow at the Heritage Foundation with a focus on family and education.
The second wave feminist movement was extremely successful at directing resources towards women and girls, whether that's in terms of education, in terms of the economy, in political representation.
Help me reconcile, because I think this is a point that many Americans would be confused by. The highest echelons of power, whether in the corporate world or in government, are largely held by men.
I think part of that is recognizing the generational divide. The crisis is generally speaking among younger men, right? So that's why we're talking about boys and men. The people in power obviously are older men, and eventually they're going to transition from those roles.
The median age of both Fortune 500 CEOs and members of the House of Representatives is about 57.
This is
while
like
only 28% of the members of Congress are women.
Like this is really misleading, and I want to point this out. It's like, because I hear this constantly. Well, we don't have enough people in Congress. We don't have enough people for Fortune 500. Well, you got to remember that the top 10 wealthiest women on planet Earth got that way either through divorce or through inheritance. Okay?
Well, I think another way. I think another way to say it is this: like, in order to be a Fortune 500 CEO or in order to be a congressperson, you have to have a certain level of aggression and ambition. But it's like more than just ambition. Like, I'm an ambitious person, but running for Congress is highly ambitious for me. Ambition, risk taking is generally an attribute that is associated with testosterone. So as in general, if you had complete and total equality for opportunity for men and women, there's still going to be more men than women in politics and as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. If you have a hard time dealing with that, I can just show you the data on how estrogen and testosterone works. But if you had complete equality of opportunity, you're still going to have way more men in politics and way more men
that is borne out by studies of Scandinavian countries, which are considered to be like the most gender equal countries on planet Earth. And what do we find in those countries? We find that men tend to gravitate towards conventionally masculine roles, and women gravitate toward feminine roles as well. So given a state of complete parity, or at least as close as we can manage, it's still the case, right? So to say that there ought to, like, what I want to know is, why is that the ideal? Do we have to have 50% women and men in Congress for everything to be like perfectly balanced? Do we have to have 50% of Fortune? Do we have 250 of the 500 Fortune 500? Do we have to have them to be women for everything to be 100%? Yeah. The thing is like, why is that the ideal in the first place? Why are we gravitating towards that?
Yeah, to be fair, they do answer that. He talks about this. He's like, we're going to get to a point where these things are going to change pretty drastically, because usually when you're talking about the incumbent males that are 57 years old, they're not the ones that we're talking about boys and men falling behind. This is going to have downstream ramifications, and that's what they talk about here in just a second. So let's get to that.
The number of women sworn into the most recent Congress represented a 44% increase compared to 10 years ago.
There are more Fortune 500 CEOs, I think, named like John, David, and Mike than there are female Fortune 500.
I'm pretty sure if you say John, David, and Mike, there's more people named John, David, and Mike than probably 50% of
general,
men.
CEOs, yeah. Period. But the thing is, most men are not Fortune 500 CEOs. And these men who are succeeding extremely in their fields, they're doing great, but they don't necessarily represent all men.
She got it right. She hit it right on the head. That's what I'm talking about, Rollo. She got it perfect.
Fallacy. That is the apex fallacy right there.
Or even the majority of men.
Christine Emba is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and author of Rethinking Sex, a Provocation.
Pretty much since the founding of the United States, political thinkers and ideas people have been bemoaning the state of American men. First, it was that the frontier closed and American men didn't have anywhere else to explore. Then it was that the world wars had decimated men. Eventually, that turned into sort of an obsession with how unfit physically men were getting. So this has always been sort of a question that's being asked of men. However, I do think that in this moment, men maybe are facing an identity crisis. One of the things that a lot of the young men I've talked to mention when I'm asking them about masculinity and manhood and where they get their ideas of how to be a man from is male role models.
Yes. Yeah, I have a tie for you. All right.
Many will say, my dad wasn't in the house, or like I don't really have sort of older men around me who like taught me how to be a man.
Okay, so what she's saying in a very nice, politically correct way is what we talk about with Ted Bundy and Homer Simpson. Women are being taught pretty consistently that men are not dependable, or they're dangerous, untrustworthy. And so she's expressing that, but just kind of in a different way.
I think boys in particular feel this emotional roller coaster, this push and pull of like, on the one hand, I'm hearing people think men should be able to cry, but I also don't feel I can express myself, don't have enough adult men in my life that actually model that for me. Describe a physical sensation in or on your body, so something that you can feel, and then you're going to describe an emotional feeling. We don't give teenage boys enough credit for how emotional they are when you create a space or an environment where it's acceptable and encouraged to do this.
Okay, I mean, of course, in my mind, I'm like, man, I don't know how much this is going to help these kids like be successful in life. I appreciate what he's trying to do. I just don't. It feels very woo-woo. Go into a place in your body and express what you're feeling. I'm just having a little bit hard time when I'm thinking about the incredible impending challenges that a lot of the men that are in that classroom are going to have to deal with when it comes to employment in the next couple of years, and when it comes to dating, that them feeling a feeling in their body and expressing it is really going to be the solution for them. I'm having a hard time with that.
It's female therapy speak is what it is. This is female therapy speak. That's all. And that's the thing that gets me the most is like, whenever there is a solution, whenever I ask guys like, well, we need to teach our men, our boys and our men to be strong men and this and this. And I go, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? And it's usually shit just like this. We need to have boys be able to cry on demand. We need to have, and it's like, we've had enough of that. That's been going on since the late 60s and the early 70s. We had this push for men to get in touch with their emotions, to express themselves emotionally, to get in touch with their female side. And that's where we're at right now as a result of this guy is probably one more guy in 4 generations of a long history of this same female pablum, because the problem that happens right here is that these guys think that to solve men's problems, we use female therapy to solve men's problems.
It is an
Men
issue. Yeah.
and women are just the same. It is the blank slate. It is emotionalism, and later on it'll be social constructionism, because they're going to get into in this segment here. They're going to get into this part where it's like society expects men to be strong. No, you expect to be strong because you have 17 times the amount of serum testosterone flowing through your bloodstream right now. That is why. And it's like, it's never a mechanical problem. It's never about evolutionary psychology. It's never about evolutionary biology. And that is why these people hate EvoPsych and they hate EvoBio, because it expressly, realistically, and empirically crushes everything that these guys say. That's why they hate us, because we quote Dr. David Buss, we quote Steve Stewart Williams, we quote Gad Saad, we quote Marty Hazelton, all of these other, all of this other stuff when it comes to EvoPsych, and then they want to say, well, it's not. That's just a theory, and that's not really what's going on. And the thing is
I think the idea of making like teenage boys cry, that is somehow healthier, is also a theory. That would be just a theory. That's because I'm not exactly sure how that would work. Anyway, he has a couple other things to say. Let's hear him out.
It's beautiful what happens naturally.
Classic 5 Friday.
Drew.
Young men in men's work project, please report to the library. Thank you.
Aaron, take one big deep breath in through the nose. Inside out. We're gonna do one more big deep breath in through the nose, and this time we're gonna bring our hands above our head. And side out, drop your hands.
David Reese is a language arts teacher at Oberlin High School in Ohio. Johnny Cole is Reese's former student and founder of Hey Brother, an organization that seeks to challenge and examine what it means to be a modern man. Every other week during the school year, Cole and Reese lead a group of over a dozen high school boys in lessons and discussions focused on the role of men in today's world, a program they call Men's Work.
So here's a question. When in your life was there a time when you wanted to cry? You felt it. You wanted to cry, but you kind of like stuffed that down and would not allow yourself. Jaden?
When my dog died, I feel that was just...
Hey, nothing wrong with crying when your dog died. Nobody said that that's a problem. Nothing wrong with that.
And for him to be taken just in an instant.
Or your mom or dad died. Nothing wrong with nobody said you can't cry when your mom or dad died.
It's kind of sad.
Who here has lost a pet? All right. Who here wanted to cry and did cry when you lost your pet?
Why do you think there's a hunger for this now?
I believe that there always has been, but it is more present and potent because we have a cultural dialogue around men being expressive and the expectation that men should be going to therapy, and women wish that they could find men who were more expressive.
Okay, so guys, I need to explain something to you because this is like super confusing to a lot of you, and so I have to give you the caveat here. The masculine gender roles that some people think are toxic, they're not enforced on men by men. They are enforced on men by women. This is very difficult for a lot of people to deal with this concept. This is one of them that gets me in a lot of trouble. But the reason why these men a lot of times can't afford to be super vulnerable or cry is because they have to make the money, because every single survey shows that women want men who make more money than them. When women, when you see the men that women choose, they choose assertive, dominant, aggressive men. They tend to choose these things. And then you see these dark triad surveys where women find a lot of these attributes attractive. The lack of here's another way to say it. I wish I could be softer, but I can't, because I live in a world where women don't accept it the way this guy is pretending that they do. And then women will go off and say, I want a man to be more vulnerable. No, honey, you want a man you're attracted to be more vulnerable. They'll say, I want a guy to buy me flowers, or a guy who will cry in front of me. No, you want a guy you're attracted to buy you flowers or to cry in front of you. Because if we were to look at your dating history, and of course we've done this several hundred times, we look at their dating history, we don't find the actual hypersensitive man doing very well with women. You see it in the media and like TV shows, like Leonard Hofstadter in Big Bang Theory. He just ends up with Callie Kuko. He ends up with the super hot girl next door. That's not real. That's not how the world works. So it's really difficult. If you guys want to just take some time and look at this in your life, these guys, what they're trying to tell you is that these gender norms are imposed on you by Andrew Tate. These gender norms are imposed on you by YouTube. The gender norms are these gender norms are imposed on you because this is the world that men have to compete in, designed by women. I'm not blaming women, because the opposite is also true. Women compete with other women. This is Dr. David Buss who said this. Homo sapiens are one of the rare species where the arena upon which women compete with other women for men is defined by men. And the arena upon which men compete with other men for women is defined by women. And so that's the problem. It's like he can say all he wants about being more vulnerable, but also the guy who's saying this, he's a pretty good looking dude. Like, it's okay for tall, good looking dudes to say be more vulnerable. The problem is that's not what women are accepting. And then they get into it later in the show where they talk about women who make more money want men who make even more money. So that's another issue here. What is that? That is a gender norm not imposed by men. And so this is a really dangerous thing, because what it sounds like I'm saying is, hey, if women wanted to stop dealing with these assertive, aggressive, dominant, ambitious men, stop having sex with them and stop having babies with them. That's what it sounds like I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is those attributes are rewarded with sex. They are. And there's tons of studies showing this. And so when you hear this guy say what he's saying, there's this like fundamental misunderstanding that he thinks that it's guys like me and Rolo who are telling you that you need to not cry. That's not what's going on. What we're telling you is, if you meet a girl and she sees you cry, more often than not, she's going to get the ick and leave you. So not crying is not something we're trying to enforce on you. Not crying is something that most women, and they'll tell you the opposite. But just watch. If you don't believe me, listen, don't take my word for it. If you guys are in a relationship right now, you want to get rid of your girl, just tell her all your problems and cry in front of her. And I'll put up any amount of money you want. She'll be out the door very quickly. And then you can sit here and you can understand these gender norms are not enforced by men. They're enforced by women, because this is the society. This is the way women want. They've let us know through who they choose the way they want their men presented to them. And then the problem is when some of those men that have multiple options with women, when they leave those women, then they retcon and go back and say, I wish he was more vulnerable. This man's a pig. I wish he's toxically masculine. It's like, no, you were attracted to Brock the bartender. That's the guy you went home with. Now you want to retcon and say, no, that's not what I was attracted to. I want a man who's more vulnerable. When we go back and look at your dating history, we don't find any vulnerable men. That's generally what we've seen.